Lavender Hill Loft. Peanuts are one of the best foodstuffs that we can feed to our pigeons, be it in preparation for racing and training and during breeding. The type of peanut that should only be fed is the non-roasted Spanish type peanut. It is not salted, it is not cooked in any way. It's whole in nature like this with the red skin on it. Spanish raw are the variety, raised abundantly here in the United States. You do not want to use a cooked one or one that is salted for obvious reasons. Peanuts can be a little tricky when feeding to pigeons. There's a couple things you have to be aware of. One, you have to really pay attention to the fact that they're fresh. If you have peanuts that have been in conditions where they've been hot and cold and hot and cold, they lose their food value. But two, a peanut on the inside, I'm going to split this one, as they break into two halves, have the ability, I don't know if you can see that, but right there they have a little cavity where fungus and mold can grow. So if they're in a condition where they're not plump, the skin is not smooth, it's wrinkled, you break it open, they smell moldy, they smell musty, chances are those peanuts are infected, and you should absolutely not feed those to your pigeons. They will be poisonous. They're poisonous to humans, to all livestock, and especially to our pigeons. The way that I keep my peanuts is I buy them fresh on a regular basis, and I put them in, like I buy a big 5-pound sack from my supplier, and I keep them in the refrigerator in the freezer section. I freeze mine, and I take them out and I feed them just like that. The reason I do that is because the mold and fungus cannot grow inside them. It keeps them at a constant temperature, and it's just better, and I can sleep at night knowing that I have not inadvertently given my pigeons bad peanuts. But why do we feed peanuts? Peanuts are one of the highest fat content feed stuff that we can feed, only second to, really on par with rapeseed. Peanuts have 12% carbohydrates, they have 47% fat, they have 30% protein, which means that they are 2 to 3 times better than popcorn or dogtooth corn or just normal regular seed corn. Because pigeons need fat to fly, and peanuts are highly saturated with fat, that pigeons, when they're flying, over 2 to 3 hours, should always be fed some peanuts. Safflower, for instance, has 28% fat. Linseed has 34% fat. Hemp seed has 32% fat. Now, hemp seed that I'm talking about is not the hemp seed that has been sterilized here in the United States. I'm talking about the kind that you can get in Europe and England and Canada, that if you sprout it will grow. But here in the United States we sterilize it, which basically equates it to a dead, burned out seed that has very little to any foodstuff value. Rapeseed has 42%. I highly recommend feeding peanuts to your racers all week long. Some folks only feed them the last day, some 2 days before, but you got to get that fat into their system. If you're heavily training and your birds are expected to fly week after week after week, I would highly recommend and highly advise to feed handfuls of peanuts to your pigeons. Now, you don't have to feed them strictly just on peanuts. Some long distance men do. They'll feed them. The last 2 feeds will be 100% peanuts, all they can eat. But remember, it takes a minimum of 24 to 48 hours for that food stuff to get into the body, to get the liver and the bloodstream to circulate it and turn it from its current form into a form that the body can use. Peanuts are an excellent source of foodstuff for breeding pigeons. I always give peanuts to my pigeons, especially when they're breeding. You will raise the most beautiful, fat, healthy-looking young birds you've ever had if you give a couple handfuls of peanuts to your breeders. One interesting fact is that peanuts on a molecular structure are very similar to the composition of pigeon milk. And so adding a few peanuts to your pigeons' diets in the breeding loft takes that stress off the breeders of having to go without. And also, your breeding pigeons will be in better condition because they have been fed one of the best foods, if not the best food, that you can feed your pigeons. So if you're pumping 4, 5, and 6 rounds out of your breeders, I highly recommend to feed them peanuts on a regular basis. That doesn't mean all-out peanuts. That means a percentage of their diet. Peanuts are very, very, very good food stuff. You'll also notice that pigeons love peanuts. They'll trap in for peanuts. They become very tame for peanuts. And that's because they know, and nature tells them, that peanuts are one of the best pound for pound foodstuffs that there is. And so if you really want to have tame pigeons, if you want to have that extra edge on race day, you'll feed peanuts. Lavender Hill Loft, Washington, D.C.